Here's how I made a gourmet beef bourguignon on the stovetop. First, I started by frying some bacon. I want to give credit where credit is due. I got this recipe from Mateo. His YouTube channel is Winter is Blue. I'm going to link it in the description box below. Mateo and his cat Lars travel around the country, and one night he stayed in a tiny home and he had more counter space and he made this magnificent meal and I just had to try it. This is the second time I've made it. The first time I made it was extra salty, so I have adjusted some things in this recipe and it came out so much better the second time. Now the bacon is fried, so I'm going to drain it. And the wonderful thing about this recipe is while you're cooking one thing, you can be working on other parts of the dish, like cutting up vegetables, putting things in the dishwasher. So you have extra time. Then I had some beef stew tips. Threw those in there in the bacon grease and let them brown. Now I didn't brown them very much. I probably could have browned them till they were really crispy, but I'm really busy. I didn't have a lot of time that day, so you'll see that I did take them out a little bit early. I'm having trouble with my editing software, so I apologize if any of this video is delayed or the voiceover is delayed. Also in this video, you will see me having an argument with a wine bottle. Having trouble getting the wine bottle open almost ruined this wonderful dish. Here I am now taking the stew meat out of the pot. Again, it's not very crispy, but let me tell you, this beef was tender and it wasn't crunchy, but it was tender, so it was just the way I liked it. How do you like your beef done? Yum. Alright, then I got some organic rainbow carrots, and the last time I made it, the grocery store didn't have any rainbow carrots. But I wanted some color to the dish, and Mateo used those in his dish. However, when the dish is done, it is so dark you don't see the color, so it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to cook those carrots in the bacon grease and the stew meat drippings, and then I put a tablespoon of brown sugar in because Mateo used a tablespoon of crystallized lemon and I did not have that, so I wanted something sweet. And then I crumbled up the bacon on top of that. Next, I stirred it up. Then I took some minced garlic, about 1 tablespoon. I don't have any fresh garlic right now, and so I'm using the rest of this jar. Once it's empty, I'm going to go back to fresh garlic cloves. Here I am trying to open up a can of tomato paste. Last time I used a tube of tomato paste and it was much easier on my arthritis. I'm going to get that the next time. So I'm putting the tomato paste in, about 1 can. Stir it up. This takes about 1 hour in the kitchen, I would say, prepping all of this. Then I have this Better Than Bouillon beef bouillon paste. Last time I put a full tablespoon in, and I thought that's what made my dish so salty, so I wasn't going to put a full tablespoon. But then at the last minute I changed my mind. I had another idea about how to make this dish less salty, and we'll get to that in a little while. I've been hearing that this dish is typically a salty dish anyway, but it was almost too salty last time to eat. And then you're supposed to throw in some flour or cornstarch. So I just took a handful of Bisquick. That's all I had. I think I had some cornstarch in the pantry, but I needed to use some of my Bisquick. Now, you're going to cook this on high until it is crispy. Not really sure what that means, but I did turn it on high. I took this time to unload the dishwasher, clean some of the dishes that I had already used, put lids on jars, put things back in the refrigerator or in the pantry. So like I said, you can clean as you go, straighten as you go. It's one of the reasons I love this dish. Here we go with the wine bottle. Alright, I have a Houdini bottle opener, and usually it opens a bottle like a charm. First you twist off the paper or foil around the bottle with this little thing, this little disc, and then you put the Houdini on, and normally the cork comes right out, right? But I think the blade on my Houdini is getting dull, and I probably need to get a new one. So as you'll see here, I'm trying to open this bottle. Thought I had it, and lo and behold, the cork only came about halfway out. So I continued to try over and over again, getting frustrated. I don't like to cook. Something always seems to happen to spoil my plan. I get very, very frustrated, and sometimes I even throw hissy fits. Also, to add to my frustration, even though I have a lot of counter space, this dish did take up a lot of counter space, and I found myself over by the dishwasher doing this job, and it's not typically where I like to work. So here I am trying to get this cork out of here, starting to get really frustrated now. I have arthritis. That's one of the reasons why the Houdini is usually the best cork remover for me, but it just wasn't happening. So then I decided to go and get a pair of pliers out of my toolbox. Well, all that was doing was removing more of the cork in pieces, so trying again with the Houdini. I'm letting you watch all of this because I'm having trouble with my editing software, and cutting these segments has been proven very difficult for me, so I'm just letting it run. By now, the man who was supposed to fix our fence drives up, and I'm supposed to go out there and talk to him. But I'm in here trying to get this cork out. I've got the stove on high, and so then what I have to do is go and turn the stove completely off so that I can go deal with the fence guy. That just adds to my stress and frustration. How would you get this cork out? Let me know in the comments. So I'm yelling and screaming and having a fit. I don't want to throw all these ingredients away. This dish was quite expensive because I had to buy this bottle of Merlot. Now, Matteo used Burgundy wine in his recipe, but I didn't want anything as dark, so I take that back. He did use Merlot, but the recipe he had called for Burgundy, and he didn't want anything that dark either, so he got Merlot. So I don't drink Merlot, so part of the bottle had to go to waste. I did drink a little bit of it on my last live stream though, and I didn't like it very much. So now my wife has come into the kitchen and she's trying to get the cork out. And normally she is very, very strong and normally she can do things like that. But nope, still didn't come out. There's a sink of dirty dishes there. So then I thought one more time I'm going to try to put the Houdini at the very, very top of the bottle. And lo and behold, I believe this is when the cork finally came out. I calmed down, fence guy was taken care of, turned the stove back on, and continued cooking this amazing dish. Alright, I don't know if this was crispy or not. I was getting stressed out because I needed to work. So when I thought it was as crispy as possible, that's when I started adding the other ingredients. So I think I added at the beginning a cup and a half of the Merlot, it looks like. Yeah. I will tell you that I did add a little bit more later on. Then I took some Organics bone broth that's beef, and I put probably about a half of that can in there. And then I added the stew meat back into the pot. And I'm telling you what, once that Merlot hits that pan, your house starts smelling amazing almost immediately. Then I took 2 bay leaves and I threw those in there just for a little added bit of flavor. I don't cook with those very often. I don't like fishing them out of the dish. All right, next I took a handful of thyme. I just threw it in there. I normally underseason things, so I've started not using tablespoons and teaspoons, and then I threw some rosemary in there, about the same amount. Stirred it up. Boy, it's smelling good now. Okay, so it's boiling. Now I'm going to simmer it by covering it. I think you're supposed to simmer it for probably 3 to 3.5 hours. Now here, when I came back to check it, it was already, the liquid was coming out of it. The bottom was starting to burn a little bit, which was probably a good thing because it made the beef tips a little bit crispier. So here I am throwing in a little bit more of the broth, half a cup, and then I added a half a cup of water. Now last time I added only the broth, and I think that's what made it so salty. Every time I threw broth in there, I was adding salt. So every time I came back, whatever I put in of broth, I put the same amount of water in there. Then I just threw in a little bit of extra wine for good measure. Alright, this is about, I don't know, this is about 3 hours later. I had 2 tablespoons of butter and put them in the frying pan, and I'm going to saute some mushrooms. I like them sliced, but I guess you could put them whole if you wanted to. Now again, this is another thing that I like to do is when my mushrooms are sauteing, I'm over at the kitchen sink, I'm washing dishes, putting things away in the cupboard. I like to try to get things put away as much as possible so it makes for easy cleanup at the end. This is by far the most complicated dish I've ever made. I am just not a cook. But I think Mateo is helping me learn that you can make flavors by just adding more and more ingredients, being more patient. You can make some awesome dishes. Now I'm cutting up different colored potatoes. Again, I thought this would be great. Mateo did that with different colors, but again, you don't have to because in the end, the dish is so dark, you won't see the colors anyway. Last time I cut them in half, this time I'm cutting them in quarters. Makes it easier to eat. Mateo drives around the United States in his van with his cat Lars, and he makes some of the most amazing meals in his van. He has a full functioning oven and a stove, and it's just amazing. He has really inspired me to start cooking, which is something I've never ever liked to do. And I definitely don't like baking. That takes even more patience and more precise measurements. Also, Mateo rates his dishes from 1 to 10, and he's very hard on himself. Okay, I needed to add 1 more tablespoon of butter because the butter was cooking down, and I like butter. Mateo has also inspired me to cook more healthy, preservative-free, as much as possible. Back to cutting potatoes. Alright, I'm going to put the potatoes into the pot now and stir those up. Now, when you put that many potatoes in there, it seems like you need more liquid. So I probably added, oops, I forgot one. Had to cut that one up. I am a multitasker. I'm doing lots of things. I'm answering emails, doing all kinds of things. Alright, next I'm going to add the mushrooms. Tried to strain as much of the butter out as I could. This dish is very rich. I'm going to put something on the top when I serve it to cut the fat. You'll see that at the very end. And again, that was Mateo's suggestion. You cannot go wrong with Mateo's dishes. I'm telling you guys. He is absolutely amazing. And he's also a musician. It's getting really thick. Now, I think I cooked this now for another 45 minutes with the potatoes and mushrooms, maybe even closer to an hour. Covered it up. Went back in and did some work. Came back and checked it. Oh my gosh, I know it smelled so delicious. Could not wait to eat this. I just had a feeling it was going to be better than the last time, and last time was marvelous. Alright, now I'm ready to serve. Everything's hot, everything's tender. So I had 2 cups, which was a lot of calories for me that day. If y'all are not watching my YouTube shorts, you'll see everything that I eat every day. And so I think this one was mine. Yeah. I don't really like carrots, but I will eat them in something like this. So what I did was I put a dollop of Greek yogurt on top to cut the fat. Absolutely delicious. Thanks for joining me, and thanks a lot, Mateo.